Home and Away Spoilers Nerida makes Eden her next victim. Next week on Home and Away in the UK. As Narita discovers that she's the prime suspect in Tim's attack, she strikes again and stabs Eden. There was relief last week as Tim finally woke up from his coma. 2 weeks after being attacked by obsessive ex-client Narita. Tim's girlfriend Eden has barely left his bedside since the attack, willing for him to wake up. However, rather than longing for the love of her life to regain consciousness so they could be together, Eden was forced to admit to sister Abigail that she was hoping Tim could clear Cash's name, who is currently prime suspect for the attack. Indeed, the last conversation that Tim and Eden had that fateful day was his realizing that Eden was still in love with Cash. Tim had stormed off, and later ran into Cash, who had come to the island retreat worried that Narita would come after Eden. Whilst Cash was correct in that Narita had made her way to the estate, it was he and Tim who ended up being clobbered over the head, with Cash waking up in the grounds next to Tim's unconscious body the next morning. Lead investigator, Detective Sergeant Mark Townsend, believe it's an open and shut case. Cash was seen arguing with Tim shortly before the attack, so he's the guilty party. Although Cash's memory of the incident has since returned, confirming it was indeed Narita responsible, there is currently no proof to back him up. As a last resort, Cash arranged to meet with Narita and made a deal if she promised to stay away from Eden and Tim. He wouldn't fight the charges and would take the fall. Cash's foster father Gary, who returned to the Bay after hearing about Cash's predicament from John, couldn't understand why Cash was not putting up more of a fight. A police sergeant himself, Gary teamed up with Rose to continue an investigation behind Townsend's back, hoping to prove Cash's innocence, and was horrified when Cash eventually admitted to him that he had made the deal with Narita. Next week, Bree checks over Tim immediately after his regaining consciousness, commenting that Eden will be disappointed that she wasn't there to see it, after spending so long at Tim's side. Neither of them realize that at that very moment, Eden is somewhat occupied with kissing Cash, but just as Eden starts to believe there could be some hope for them, Cash pulls away, telling Eden that this was a mistake. Eden still believes that Cash's stance that they can't be together is irrational, but the moment is interrupted by the return of Gary. Eden eventually hears from Bree and rushes to Tim's bedside, and it's not long before Rose turns up too, hoping they can finally clear Cash's name. Thankfully, Tim confirms that he can remember what happened, and it was indeed Narita that attacked both of them. Everyone's relieved now that Cash has been proved innocent, but Cash isn't celebrating just yet. Narita is still out there, and Eden is still in danger. Cash approaches an apologetic Townsend and asks him to maintain his status as the main suspect just until Narita is found, worried that she will become even more unpredictable if she learns the police are searching for her. Unfortunately, it's too late. Townsend has already released Narita's name to the media. Cash urges Eden to go back to the hospital, where he knows that Tim is already under police protection, but it's particularly awkward for Eden, knowing that she's currently biding her time before splitting up with Tim. At this point, Eden's not even aware if Tim can remember the last conversation they had that day, where she'd admitted her feelings for Cash. Later in the week, both Levi and Molly are surprised when Abby announces that she's moving into the caravan with Molly. Molly had only just moved to the caravan park himself, hoping that it would better for his relationship with Abby if they weren't constantly in each other's pockets at both work and home. It's not long before Molly realizes that there is an ulterior motive, however. Abby is terrified of being alone whilst Narita is still out there. Everyone agrees that it's best for her to stay with Molly for the time being. And when Levi later catches up with Eden, he assures her that he'll do everything in his power to keep her safe too. Eden is more concerned over her dilemma with Tim, however, admitting to her brother that she feels a complete hypocrite for chastising Levi over his affair with Mackenzie, when she has now kissed Cash whilst technically still with Tim. Levi urges Eden to be honest with Tim, the sooner the better, as it's the only way she will be able to free herself. Back at the hospital, Tim admits to Eden that he does remember her admitting to still being in love with Cash, but is happy to move past it, telling her it doesn't need to be a big deal. Eden is racked with guilt, however, as she then confesses to Tim that she kissed Cash whilst he was still in a coma. Tim is heartbroken and demands that Eden leave so she can go be with Cash. Cash, now back in uniform, is now working with Townsend as they do all they can to track Narita down, requesting a copy of her rather large mental health records in the hope it could provide some clue as to where she may have gone. Cash later turns up at the hospital, wanting to apologize to Tim for bringing Narita back into his life and starting this whole mess in the first place. But Tim is incensed at Cash, telling him that he knows he kissed Eden, and he hopes they'll be happy together. Cash's immediate concern is the fact that Eden is no longer protected, now that she's left Tim's police-guarded hospital room. Cash attempts to ring Eden to check on her whereabouts, but when Eden goes to answer her phone as she walks through the park, Narita appears out of nowhere. "He's mine," Narita yells, as she lunges towards Eden, stabbing her in the shoulder with a syringe. Eden manages to press the button to answer Cash's call, but it's too late. As Cash tries to ask Eden where she is, she falls to the ground and passes out. What does Narita have planned? Thanks for watching and stay tuned for more movie spoilers next week. Goodbye and see you again.